Welcome to the Switch 2 mouse functionality tutorial. First, wipe off all the crumbs from the flat surface in front of you. Next, rest your Joy-Cons on the flat surface. Now, grab the left Joy-Con with your hand that has a long thumb and short fingers, and the right Joy-Con with your hand that has a short thumb and really long fingers. You know I love a good headline, right? EA released their quarterly financial reports this week, and it's mostly what we already expected, mostly boring, but check out this bad boy. EA has learned all the wrong lessons from Dragon Age the Veilguard, and it's going to be disastrous for the future of Mass Effect 5, if it even has a future. Whoa, that's smoky. And it's generally what most of the reporting looked like. Most of the outlets picked up on that one thing. And to be fair to PC Gamer, I used their headline for a feature. Their news headline was this: "It sure sounds like Electronic Arts thinks cutting Dragon Age the Veilguard's live service components was a mistake." Very newsy. But what I find weird about all of this is just taking EA CEO Andrew Wilson's words at face value, considering the context in which they were delivered in. This was all part of a quarterly earnings report for investors. He can't just openly tell everyone that Dragon Age Veilguard failed to meet expectations because it's generally uninteresting. He can't just go out and say, well, it was just okay. You know, he has to spin it. He has to make the failings of the current game into the reasons the next game is exciting and will be successful. So I wanted to look at his full prepared remarks. Here, let me just summarize a lot of this for you. This first paragraph is thanks to the teams. You're all doing great. You're accomplishing great things. With that understood, please, no offense for what I'm about to say. Second paragraph. Okay, so Q3 was pretty bad. It was bad, but let me explain. So he laid it out there, the 3 keys to EA's blockbuster storytelling strategy. First key is you create an authentic story and experience for the core audience. Okay. Second, you build innovative, groundbreaking features. And third, emphasize high-quality launches across both PC and console. In my mind, that's too generic to even be considered a directive. Like, imagine your boss comes in and says, "Hey, can you give me some innovative, groundbreaking features or what?" What do you mean? I get, yes. But I think a funny phrase there is core audience. Because remember, this is the blockbuster storytelling strategy. The core audience is not enough. We need more. So it turns out there's a secret 4th key. He continues, in order to break beyond the core audience, games need to directly connect to the evolving demands of players who increasingly seek shared world features and deeper engagement alongside high-quality narratives in this beloved category. And so that's where the headlines came in. That sentence in particular. He does go on to say, Dragon Age had a high-quality launch and was well-reviewed by critics and those who played. However, it did not resonate with a broad enough audience in this highly competitive market. So sue me. We got the first 3 keys to the blockbuster storytelling strategy, but we fell short of the secret 4th one that I just now told you about. Sorry. That was all he had to say about Dragon Age, because immediately after that, he moved on to talking about why EAFC is stinking it up. Funny thing I never really noticed or appreciated before about this sort of investor speech is that the game sales here are referred to as acquisitions. So look at this sentence. While early acquisitions started out strong, post-launch acquisition cohorts waited longer in the cycle to acquire the new title, as many stayed in prior iterations. Imagine being a rich person and just saying, "Oh, yeah, I get that." He's just saying that people are still playing the old FIFAs. But the football club game is not lost. It's not dead. They had a plan. What they did was they listened to feedback, they adapted, and then they updated the game to something that fans like more. And this is what he's explaining in this whole thing. But so that helped bring some players back. But the thing he was most proud of was this Team of the Year event. and how this really turned things around. He says, because of the update and the popular Team of the Year event, we have reactivated over 2 million Ultimate Team players with all acquisition cohorts experiencing positive trends. Oh, yes. I tried to understand even what makes the Team of the Year event appealing. Somehow this comes off like an ultra hardcore Pokemon game. Question. There's 6 different evolutions. Can I use different players in each one? Answer. No! The first player you choose will be the only player eligible. Remaining evolutions will require you to have a Toti HM Evo item rarity. And that's what brings them back somehow. That's what keeps the franchise chugging, I guess. But anyway, it was stressed that this sort of, we're utilizing our community, we're doing what the community tells us to do, and that's a good thing, is sort of a new strategy for this current era of EA. And that kind of leads, interestingly, into this week's announcement of Battlefield Labs.
Labs?
Yeah, Battlefield Labs. The idea here is that the next Battlefield game is going to be so huge. It's apparently being co-developed by 4 separate studios across the globe. But also, you too, buddy. We need your help too.
We have to prototype, play test, get feedback, and then repeat that loop over and over and over again.
And the whole video is so serious in its tone. Do you remember just last week I was talking about how the new Battlefield game should try to take this angle that speaks to how fun the games can be? They actually almost started talking like that.
Helicopter crashes into the building next to you, and all of a sudden the roof drops on your head.
When 1942 first came out, the amount of fun that we all sat down and had with it is just, still like a fond memory.
But then almost immediately after that, we have to hear about creating the new Battlefield universe.
We set out with this ambitious idea of creating this new Battlefield universe. And to make that vision reality, we had to think big.
And then they have this ultra serious B-roll of what I presume are QA testers, or maybe just some young people who showed up for the day. But the lights are off. Just in my personal experience, you do QA with the lights on. But no, this is a dramatic game. We got the lights off. And do you notice one thing about all of these people? No one is smiling. It kind of reminds me of the arcade from Toys where that evil general is just trying to train kids to pilot military drones. Is that a good reference? Anyway, the video itself does end with 10 seconds of pre-alpha gameplay of what the next Battlefield game will be like. And at that point, I kind of get the impression that they are dead set on advertising this game exactly as they always have, since Battlefield 3 14 years ago. If you're going to say,
let's build Battlefield together.
Great, happy to be a part of the team. First note, let's change the branding a bit. Let's mix things up, because it's feeling a little stale, quite frankly. Next, let's talk about my salary. But it's interesting to watch this whole 5-minute studio/game/early access initiative promotional video, while also looking back at what EA is telling its investors that it believes is important. First, create an authentic story and experience for the core audience.
We're driving a cinematic experience to the level that's never been done on Battlefield before.
Second, build innovative, groundbreaking features.
Push Battlefield to the next level.
And third, emphasize high-quality launches across both PC and console.
We're pre-alpha, so now is the time to test all the experiences our teams have been building for our upcoming launch and beyond.
The bases are covered, but remember, there's a secret fourth base, home base. If we're going to break beyond that core audience, we're going to need those shared world features and deeper engagement. And I think that is what is yet to be seen of new Battlefield. EA doesn't just need game sales, they need acquisitions. And so the first thing Andrew Wilson said about Battlefield Labs is this. Yesterday's announcement of Battlefield Labs is a key development in our ongoing expansion of massive online communities. Massive online communities appears a few times throughout his remarks. It appears to be an important thing to EA. It is funniest when he's referring to Madden and the college football games. Says, together with our partners, we are fully focused on our strategy to continue to forge our 2 American football titles into a massive online community where players can connect, celebrate their fandom, and harness powerful tools to create content. Oh, I'm convinced. I'm so convinced at this point. If you're an investor and you hear somebody is just trying to make a fun video game, you're going to hang up the call. Sell my EA. Anyway, going back to that PC Gamer headline. The reason to even tie in Mass Effect 5 is that last week, BioWare made a bad vibes post ambiguously explaining that the Dragon Age Veilguard team was all done, no more Veilguard, and has been disassembled and reassigned to other teams within EA. And you might think, why didn't they just go all work on Mass Effect? Let's get Mass Effect done now. And what was stated is that Mass Effect is not far enough in development to justify the support of the entire studio. But here's the good news. Today's news will see BioWare become a more agile, focused studio that produces unforgettable RPGs. What's funny is that the person who wrote that post, General Manager Gary McKay, he himself hyperlinks back to the last time he had to write one of these bad posts from 2 years ago, when sadly they had to announce the elimination of 50 roles so that the studio could become more agile and more focused. So the only clear thing is that the next Mass Effect is years and years away. We're better off pretending we never saw that trailer in 2020, or this trailer in 2023. Just forget about that. One could panic, sure, one could worry that the next Mass Effect game will have to adhere to EA's initiatives to create massive online communities like The Sims or the next Battlefield or its football games. But to me, it's way too early. It's like worrying right now about what Burger King songs are going to be like in 5 years. Don't worry about it yet. Personally, and this is just the conjecture portion of the video, I think that EA might be overinvesting in Battlefield. They see it as a high potential opportunity, and I don't see it that way. It's not Call of Duty. And so if it does come to pass that the new Battlefield launches and fails to acquire enough cohorts, we do at least know there's enough empty cubicles hanging out in the BioWare offices for people to move over and start working on Mass Effect. Eventually, EA is going to find another hit. It's got to happen at some point. And meanwhile, they just let Joseph Ferris make whatever he wants.
Here's another one. You play as pigs.
And that is Delayed Input. I'll be back next week. Until then, thanks for watching. I'd like to use this opportunity to show you the absolute worst trailer I've seen so far. The worst trailer of 2025. And to be clear with you, for you to be the worst trailer, you have to have stakes. Like, don't just show me the guy who makes fart games. All right, that's low stakes. No, 2025's worst trailer so far comes to us from Capcom Spotlight, a live event they threw this week. You could skip it. You wouldn't miss out on much. The one thing that was announced during the show, other than some release dates, was the existence of an Onimusha 2 remaster. And with it came the worst trailer of 2025. It's a 42-second trailer. 7 seconds in, they reveal the title. Okay. You might remember the Ninja Gaiden 2 Black trailer from a couple of weeks ago. They saved the title for last. Highly effective. That's a good spot for it. Anyway, I'm not saying it's wrong to put the title 7 seconds into the trailer, but then 19 seconds later, here's that same title reveal again. Same animation. And then immediately after that, this.
My name is Golden Dantis, the greatest swordsman of all demons.
Now hold on, I like a weirdo sword guy. Everybody loves Girahim, but that was it. That's the only non-cutscene footage in the entire trailer. And then at the end of that, here's the title one more time. That's just not how you end a trailer. You want to see how you end a trailer?